All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of One on One, the podcast by Realty ONE Group. I am joined by my co-host, Kathy Baker. Kathy, welcome.
Thank you. Welcome, Josh.
How are you this week?
I am doing great. I feel like I've been put out in the hall, like I'm sitting out in the hall.
So for those of you that don't know, I'm based in Southern California, and Kathy is based in Raleigh, North Carolina. And today we are joined by a very good friend of mine and coworker, Sevag Sarkissian. Sevag is our director of digital marketing, and he is here to discuss all things digital. So Sevag, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We are going to jump right into it. We're going to get to know him a little bit. We are going to talk some digital marketing, and hopefully everyone that's listening is going to walk away with a much better digital business. So Sevag, let's start with it. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm Sevag Sarkissian. I've been doing things online for a while, since 1994, when the internet was just coming up into its new realm. Things were popping up, America Online, Prodigy, CompuServe, and then you had things that don't exist anymore, like Alta Vista, and then going into the realms of Google. So I've seen a lot of the evolution of digital throughout the almost 30 years that it's existed in my world, at least. So I've always been involved in one way or another with internet websites, how businesses have evolved and been included into how their presence is online. Started working in marketing, and my niche and my passion was small and medium businesses who really didn't have the budget or the know-how to be successful online, create an identity online, whether it's just a simple website or getting into directories for their industry. So a lot of people right now, I'm sure they will reach out to their sons or daughters or nephews or cousins and say, hey, can you help me out? I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
I was in a sense that guy, but a lot of our community businesses that I had a passion for helping up. So I learned more too during that time. And then just started being in growth marketing and going digital all out.
And Sevag's talents are not always seen. A lot of them are kind of behind the curtain. I am fortunate enough to get to work with him every day, so I do get to see them. But what he does on the digital side of things is pretty spectacular. I know you know that as well, Kathy.
Oh my gosh. We don't see the work, but we see the results.
Right.
And I have to just take a pause and thank you publicly, because during the pandemic, you pushed us ahead and you did things for us and you got in front of the network. And I just, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for making us realize how important that digital footprint was and pushing us to do things that were way out of most people's comfort zones. So thank you for that. I didn't realize you had such a vast history and just riding it the whole way. That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. During the pandemic and all that work, that was, a lot of people were helping out in the ways they could. People were stuck behind doors. But that doesn't mean business had to stop. That doesn't mean people's lives had to just take a halt. We just did things differently. And what's easy is doing things online and digitally. What were people doing during the initial stages? And what are people doing now? They were already doing it before our 2020, the great unpleasantness that I like to call it. And we've learned different ways and we've adapted. And I've seen that throughout almost all my life, even through my adolescence and growing up. I love building. I love seeing how things can evolve. And yeah, I mean, I've been doing it for almost 30 years now, and seeing it grow to what it is now is just incredible, and what you can do online.
All right, so let's get to know our guest a little bit more before we really get into the weeds on this digital stuff. Sevag, if you're an animal, what would you be and why?
Oh man, I'm tempted to say koala because everybody loves koala bears, and they love hugs, and I low key like hugs too.
That's a shocking answer.
I use lion a lot.
Yeah, I can see that.
But something that I learned through my trips to Disney World is the lion sleeps and the lioness is what keeps the lion alert. So I don't know if I want to be a lion and anymore. I would say koala, because I always wanted to be a vegetarian.
Okay.
I love that.
And they're cute. They're huggable.
I agree. I think it's a good answer. All right, so let's get into it with Sevag the koala. So last month, for those that didn't attend, you guys missed out, and you better come next year. We held our annual summit event in Las Vegas at the Aria Resort and Casino, and it was a massive success. And I think people walked away not only with a great experience, but also they learned a lot. And one of the things that they were able to learn from were our breakout sessions. Sevag held a really awesome breakout session titled The Digital Dance, and we are going to basically take that and we are going to run it through this podcast. So this is our Digital Dance episode. And Sevag, I kind of want to talk to you. Let's start with just the foundations of digital.
Let's dance. This is great. Cue music, Ryan, right? We titled it A Digital Dance because it sort of is like a dance, and you have to keep moving and and being in rhythm. And as you catch the rhythm, that's how you're going to make yourself more successful online. And how do you become successful? It is through your foundation. So everybody, when you talk about digital and digital marketing, the number one go-to is probably social media.
Right.
They're going to say, okay, I'm going to get on Facebook, I'm going to get on Instagram, and I'm good. That's part of the biggest mistake I see a lot with organizations and professionals, and a lot of our real estate professionals will develop a social media profile, and they can post and they say, okay, this is great. Okay, what else are you doing? Your website, the content on your website, how your website's built. Is it flowing easy? Do you have the right information? And then you talk about Google. Google's the big monster that everybody loves to talk about and wants to judge themselves on how they appear.
Yeah.
When somebody's looking for you, you're going to go to Google. When you're looking for a new hat, when you're looking for, trying to research what kind of dog food to buy, you're going to go on Google. When I'm trying to find, a real estate professional or to work with, I'm going to go online and Google. And what's going to come up on Google? Your social media profiles, your website, any directories that you're on. If you're part of any reputation management platforms, like Rate My Agent is a pretty good one. And those are all going to come up when somebody's searching for you. And these are all foundational items to build your digital identity. So getting those together and organized is key. It's important. Don't let it overwhelm you. And you write it out on paper and outline it. Social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn.
Yeah.
One thing that I want to warn people is don't spend too much time on one platform. You got to spread it out. I see too many people putting 80% of their effort on Facebook.
Right.
Right now, with the latest stats that are out, the key demographic between 18 and 42 or 18 and 45 are not on Facebook. They're on different platforms.
Right.
So make sure you diversify where you're appearing and increase your touch points and raise your foundation.
Where that's so important. And the reason I love your addressing that, and I hope people will go back and listen again, because it's a lot of information. But what I love about that is how important that is for the realtor, because I feel like so much money is spent on that image. And the 30 years that you've been in digital, I've been in real estate, and I've seen that go from glamour shots to digital.
Right.
It's gone from a very local level to a global level. And I have to believe every generation is going to scratch and sniff before they use a realtor. And where they scratch and sniff is online.
Yeah.
Right. They're going to look around and say what's being said about them. What are the ratings, all that. So I want to just bring it into our audience and say, this is high level, but it's so important for you to help build your business and your foundation, to make sure that digital footprint is what you want it to be and what you deserve.
So I think that's a perfect springboard into, obviously you need to create a digital presence. I think that goes without saying if you want to be successful in real estate. But just because you have a presence, that doesn't mean you're going to get found. And so can we kind of talk about what are the tricks of the trade to being found online?
It's, we talk about physical networking. You raise the point about the era of glamour shots. You sort of take what you did then with networking and you bring it in online. And where can you join people online, whether it's like-mindedness for referrals or to network? You would go to LinkedIn and start connecting, and there's different groups on LinkedIn. With social media, other platform, more the mainstream stuff, Facebook, Instagram, if you want to dip into another generation and going into the TikTok world, as we see a lot of our network do. You can go there, create the content, but always share.
Yeah.
And then as you network with people, they're going to go out and find you on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, on LinkedIn. They're going to look for you once you make that connection. So it's important to keep networking, keep shaking hands digitally too, and don't be shy. A lot of people will go and say my closest and most, the low-hanging fruit is friends and family. There's no shame in asking them to start sharing your content online, because you would go to them and say, I'm jumping into real estate, or I'm a real estate professional. I started a brokerage, and if you know anybody, here's who I am. Those are the first group of people you go through. That could be, 70% of the weight to start, but don't leave that other 30% just sitting there.
Yeah.
You wouldn't leave 30% of your commission sitting there,
Right.
or give it to somebody else. You want to take it all in and just go all out. No shame into asking for a connection.
Kathy, you are obviously a world-class recruiter. So you know kind of what it's like, what it takes to bring in the talent, what are the right things to say, what are the things that you shouldn't say. And I think now that we are in this digital world, there's a huge level of having a reputation and having a good reputation. So I kind of want you to touch on just how one person is supposed to act. And then I think Sevag can really bring that into how you can do that online.
That's a really big question, and I appreciate that. I believe, and this is only my opinion, and Svag, I'd love to know, but I think you can have that digital presence as a professional, and it shouldn't be about how you worship. It should not be about how you vote. It should be how you think about any one individual. I think it needs to be very inclusive. I think it needs to be true. I think there needs to be tremendous integrity and transparency and being genuine about who you are, but personal opinions need to be withheld, because when you put it out there, it lives forever. We all know that. And I'm constantly amazed by seasoned professionals who are willing, and I'll give you an example, they're willing to eliminate at least 50 to 60% of their potential database by making a political statement.
Yeah. I mean, you're pigeonholing your business at that point.
Yes. And it's not that you don't believe it, but you need to be tasteful and tactful and mindful and intentional about what message you're putting out. And it's more about how they hear it than what you say. You just have to be very, very careful with that.
Remaining trustworthy is key, and building that trust. And how do you do that? You stay focused on your business, stay neutral, and don't share things that are not verified or come from sources that you didn't even take the time to see its legitimacy, if it's correct. Are these numbers right? A lot of industry reports can be opinionated reports, and they're not showing what the true color is in different markets. It could be about a completely other market, and you're bringing that type of news into your local market where you're trying to build your reputation and your trustworthiness. But I like that. I like to see profiles that are outlined in what value they bring. And I always say this too when I'm talking to real estate professionals or brokers or a franchise network. And I just had this talk with somebody internationally. When you're posting content, you want to earn the right to be their first person they go to for news in the industry, what's going on in the real estate world around them, and if it's the right time to buy or sell or make changes. You want to produce content that they can go into your Facebook and see a library of blogs that you wrote on your website. It's kind of like I always say, if you want to post anything on Facebook, you can make it into a repository, a library of your content that you're posting on your website, your blogs. And what do you say on your blogs? You talk about your local neighborhood, your community, what you've done. You talk about, any of our 6 C's that are going on in your world, and write about it.
Yeah. So, but I want to get into, Kathy brought it up, your social presence, for a lot of real estate professionals, they're building their online reputation. They want to be trusted. They want to be seen as the person in their community that a neighbor, a friend, a family member, whoever can go to for any real estate question. In order to do that, you need to be a person that is approachable, trustworthy, kind. So Kathy was saying, avoiding hot topics, right? Avoiding controversial topics. Is a real estate professional still allowed to post personal things that may not be necessarily controversial, but still shows who they are as a professional and as a person?
Yeah, absolutely. Show what you're about. Show your kids' Little League games.
Yeah.
Show them going out to soccer game. If you're going out with your teammates to an event, show that culture events in your office. But when we talk about what things were like before, news cycles have changed and have gotten shorter, and people's fuses have gotten a little bit shorter too. And things can spread like wildfire online. So if you post something, or if somebody posts a negative review about you, you better be reacting instantly. As soon as you get that alert on your phone that, hey, somebody left, this 1, 2, 3-star review about you. If somebody has wrote a comment or a post that's complaining about you or has some concerns, your reputation is on the line. And part of that reputation being online is how fast you react.
Yeah.
And it will show. Don't act instantaneously and, take a step back, have a couple sips of water, step away from your computer, phone, put it down, get your thoughts together before you do respond, because that is part of your reputation and how people will see how you respond online. But the cycles are so short, and the people's response time is more critical than ever.
I feel like we could have a whole podcast about this in and of itself. We really could. I want to continue talking about this, but I know I don't want to take up either of your whole days. So, Sevag, you said this to me off camera, and it's a pretty wild stat. I just kind of want to throw it out there and have you elaborate on it. 80-something% of leads all start with a search.
89% of transactions start with a search, and that could be a transaction to create a relationship, to find a real estate professional, to buy a refrigerator, and anything. Where would you go if you needed to buy a new refrigerator today?
Google.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to go unless you have
maybe Amazon. Maybe I'd go directly to Amazon, but any source. So if you're going to research a product, if you're going to research a service, or if you're going to make this huge investment emotionally through a relationship and connection, 89% of people start with Google. That is a pretty legitimate stat, and it's believable because I needed to know what type of dog food to transition my dog to. Right.
And
I think you actually asked me that question.
I did that. But before I asked you and before I asked my vet, I went to Google. Don't trust the internet with health issues or anything. Talk to your doctors. But I wanted to see what other people are doing with different situations.
And can we just stop right there for 1 minute? Because that example you gave is exactly what people do with realtors. They're going to go first and they're going to Google. Then they're going to go, whether it be to Josh or to the vet, and say, what do you think I should do? Right. So to your point, people are going to Google. They're going to find out about a realtor. They're going to read about them. They're going to find out what other people say. Their next step is going to be to someone they trust and say, have you used this realtor? So I love the point you're making, that the two worlds have combined. the personal referral from a trusted friend is now layered on top of that digital foundation. So that's so important for everyone on this call to understand. You can no longer bypass the digital because that's step one.
And it could work the other way around. If Josh tells me, try this food, or, I got this hair dryer, not that I use a hair dryer. I'm like, okay, great. Where am I going to go? I'm going to go see what it is on Google. I'm going to look at features, benefits, price, what other people are talking about. Does it have reviews? And a lot of, when we talk, mixing the reputation with what comes up online, and then what else is going to come online is your website, is your content, is your social media. And the people are going to click on those search results that are coming up on you to learn more about you, about your service, about your business, about your product. And when they dig into it, you better have current content on your website about what you're doing, your success stories, testimonials from your clients, things going on in your neighborhood. Don't just show the business aspect, show the personal aspect of, your Little League games or helping out in the community. We just had our one day. How did you participate in one day?
Right.
Display all this, because when people are looking for you and they go on Google, all these search results, they're going to click on those and they're going to keep digging into them, because if they're going to make this huge investment, one of the biggest investments in their lives, and they need to go someone that they trust and is reputable, you better have a good search history online.
And I think it's also a matter of being constant, right? You can't post a blog in April and then post another one in August. You kind of have to continue your content and continue to show your presence.
Absolutely. Every 2 weeks is my rule of thumb.
Yeah.
It is pretty good. If you're just starting out, post something every week. It doesn't have to be a huge essay. It could be 400, 500, 600 words if you're doing it frequently. And a quick tip, when you're developing those blogs, your headline should have your title, your name, and the market that you're in. The first paragraph of what you're writing should clearly define and answer the question of what the blog is about.
Yeah.
So if it's about choosing the right real estate professional in Tulsa, Oklahoma, if it's going to be about the best ways to stage your home in Raleigh, North Carolina, you answer in the first paragraph, what the pure definition of what it is, and then give a lot of the information in those first two paragraphs, because that's what people are gonna scroll through and read, and then continuously do that. Build a calendar, stay consistent, block off maybe a couple hours a week or every 2 weeks to develop your social posts, to develop your blog content, and they don't have to be long.
Yeah. Okay, let's really deep dive into content. I want to get into kind of the difference between organic content, paid content, and I know this also could be a blog in and of itself. a podcast in and of itself. Right. But like surface level, bird's eye view. Like
your organic content is what's going to live and stay on Google. This is what you're going to build for people to look for you and click on online. Those 89% of the people that are going to go to Google, this is what you're hoping they find or they run into. This is content that you're going to share on social media. This is content that you're going to maybe put out a vlog about. You can talk about video content. A lot of
that's something we haven't actually talked about yet. And video is the future.
It is the future. A lot of real estate professionals are pivoting to video content, 90-second, 2-minute, 3-minute videos that people can quickly digest. I have this thing of Disney World in Orlando. What pops up on my YouTube suggested videos is moving to Orlando or Orlando real estate.
Right.
So if you're Googling, places to stay in California, the Google's going to start understanding what your behavior pattern is, and then they're going to suggest to you when you go to YouTube or when you go online, check out these articles, and that might be some relocation or referral opportunities to build. So that's the organic content that you want to go through, stuff that people can learn from. People can find 6, 8, 12, 18 months from now, and it still be relevant.
And so that brings up, sorry, this just sparked in my head. And I know, Kathy, this is something that you are an expert in, telling your story. I think that's going to fall under your organic content. And I know, Kathy, you know a lot about this. This is a book that was given to all of us in the company, and I know some of us have read it. But kind of tell us about Donald Miller's book, like, and how it will work for a real estate professional.
Story Brand is probably one of the best books. I think that's why you guys, as a department, just really studied it. But it is those effective ways to tell your story, so that you're really telling your story, but you're opening up to invite people in to tell them more about you. And I think that's the masterful part about Donald Miller in Story Brand, is to build your brand, so that you are telling the story in a way that people need you. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that sums it up pretty well.
Yeah, you could tell a lot of the newer content and a lot of our focus, not that we weren't doing before, because when we're going through this Story Brand principles, we're like, whoa, we're doing this. And then, whoa, these are where we can kind of fine tune things and change things up. And we talked about, the organic content on what you're going to post out there, and making yourself a trustworthy person that they can rely on. It's, what are you going to do for them? Mm-hmm. Why should they engage with you, and how are you going to make their lives better? How are you going to make their real estate experience, their home buying, home selling experience better? How are you going to make real estate professionals' lives better by bringing them into your brokerage, and tell them, this is what I'm going to do for you?
It's letting them be the hero and you are the guide.
And more importantly, bringing the verification of it, testimonials. Talk to my real estate friends here that are in my office, or here's a list of some individuals and families that have helped transition into a home, and this is their first home buying experience. This is how I helped them out. A family grew and they needed a bigger house. This is how I helped them sell theirs and purchase a new one, and how you help them guide through that success.
I think, Josh, to your point, if I can just say one more thing, that's what realtors get wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. What realtors get wrong is, and that's why we have such a cruddy image, I'm just going to be honest, is so many position themselves as the hero and not the navigator. Mm-hmm. What the consumer wants today, both the seller and the buyer, is someone to navigate them. I mean, let's face it, they can go online and see all the houses they want, but they need a guide, like you said, and they need someone to navigate them through the transaction. They need someone that's got a plan, that's got resources. And so many realtors are still hung up in the glamour shop phase of their career. And how do I look good? How do I sound good? Rather than how do I serve? And I think that's what Donald Miller nails in Story Brand, is the awareness of what is your role.
All right, let's say that I am a relatively new real estate agent. I am young, eager. I've built a pretty solid online presence. I have a good following on Instagram. I'm pretty active on all the other social platforms. How do I start the conversation?
Start the conversation and make it a two-way conversation. Initiate. If you're talking with other fellow real estate professionals, using the right platform to connect, and have the introductory message of how you're going to benefit or how you're going to connect with each other. If you're going to reach out to a client base and that we want to talk to, it's social media. I call it almost the digital cold calling, of going out and connecting and just giving them the pitch that you would in person, except it's just online and digital.
Yeah.
The best way is share. We talked about it before. You have a nice set of content on your website. You've shared that content on your social media. And you can ask your friends and family, hey, can you share this? I just posted this on my Instagram or on my Facebook, and it's there. The blogs that are living on your website can always be refreshed.
Yeah.
And then if you have something that you want to make current, refresh it, repost it, ask your friends and family to repost it and increase your network. But I would just take the pitch that you would do in person and just do it online. It's just a way of doing it in a digital platform.
Okay. So, you have to not be afraid to put yourself out there digitally. But I think also you have to be a trustworthy person, a trustworthy source.
Absolutely. That's where it comes into making your foundation is set. We talked about earlier through all your digital platforms.
Yeah.
Make sure that is all set and people can look and verify who you are and what you do and how you've helped others. And don't take rejection personally in person. Same thing applies online and digital.
Yeah. And would you say that having a digital presence, having a digital footprint, there's not a question anymore. It's if you want to be successful in this day and age, you obviously have to have some sort of digital presence.
Yeah, we've said it for a few years. If you're not digital, you don't exist.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what are you relying on? You're maybe for lack of better terms, you're nothing if you're not online. Somebody can't go and try to find a way to connect with you.
Yeah.
And they can't go on a Google search. They can't find you on social media platforms. You don't have a website. And those, our websites are provided here at Realty ONE Group.
Right.
And they're pretty darn good engine to work with. You're not going to exist. You're not going to get business. You're just setting yourself up for failure. It's not 1986 anymore.
I don't know if you guys have seen Inventing Anna on Netflix.
I haven't watched it yet.
Shonda Rhimes does the most brilliant thing in every opening of every episode. Somewhere on the set, it's printed. This story is 100% true, except for all the stuff we made up. And I absolutely love that disclaimer. It is just brilliant the way that she does it. But
yeah, that's great.
If you're not gonna verify, like you said, please don't print it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep Sevag. He's an extremely busy man. I'm sure many of the people that are listening found Realty ONE Group online, and the reason for that is probably Sevag. And so we are incredibly grateful to have him on our team. Everyone that is listening, please head to branding.realtyonegroup.com. Sevag's presentation from Summit is actually on there and available for download, so you can kind of put his words to a visual and get an even better understanding. But Sevag, thank you for joining us, and we hope to have you back very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been great, and parting words, I would say take advantage of what's available to you, the tools and technology that we provide that can help you set up yourself for digital success. What we have, between the different masterminds and Waking Up to Wins and Summit, onesummit2023.com, get your tickets, because it will be an incredible learning experience and an event that you do not want to miss. We'll be covering all of this and more.
All right. My final parting words: if you're not digital, you don't exist. Thank you, everyone.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you, Sevag. We appreciate it.
My pleasure, Kathy. It was great.
We thank you for joining us today on another episode of One on One, a Realty ONE Group podcast. We are powered by One.U and ask if you have suggestions, recommendations, or questions, please email learning@realtyonegroup.com. And remember, pay close attention to the details, listen to understand, not respond, and always be a resource, not a sales pitch.